Hello and welcome back to electricpetrolhead, and guess what? Another day, another EV, and this one's from Hyundai. Oh, Hyundai, it just looks amazing. I'm really impressed. And it's interesting because on the one hand, it's not cheap. It's best part of 50 grand for the launch edition, which is the new one. Well, it's 48 grand, and then you get the kickback from the government for 3 grand, so it's 45 grand. But that's long range Model 3 money, and as we know, the Tesla has two big things that are a lot harder to replicate for another brand, are the supercharger network, which is fantastic, and autopilot, which if you're doing long journeys can really make it more relaxing, and if you're stuck in traffic jams a lot, again, it's really worth the money. So the rest of the industry has to do some really cool stuff. The way Hyundai have done this is they've matched the technology of a £100,000 Porsche Taycan. What does this mean? It just means that the charge rates can be up there with Tesla, and they hold it a lot better in terms of the charge curve. End result is you can charge really quickly. The downside of this is you need to be charging on, say, the Ioniq network, which supports this. But this is very much a future-proofed car, and I think it's worth a lot of time to sort of look at it. And the other two things that really appeal for me are it has a proper hatchback, which my dogs will appreciate, and two, it can tow. So if you're going on a road trip and you want to take a little trailer or possibly small caravan, I'm not sure. I'm not someone who does a lot of towing, but again, it's giving you that option. Hyundai are one of the best brands for EVs, and when the rumours came out that Apple were potentially going with either Kia or Hyundai, then no one in the EV world laughed. Everyone was like, fair play, they're one of the best brands, so it makes sense. So should we have a look on this article on Auto Express and have a look and see what the story is, because it's pretty cool. So you've got the retro look, which a lot of brands seem to be doing, the Honda E and Renault, for example. They're obviously taking on the Volkswagen and Tesla options. The Tesla Model 3, like I mentioned at the start of the video, does give you some benefits. However, this is a hatchback and it can tow, and it's 800 volts. So if you're not too fussed about autopilot and maybe you don't do lots of long journeys, it's on a level playing field. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. It's the all electric platform, which is what they're all going to be doing. It's even more so the case with EVs, that the infrastructure can be the same across multiple different types of car. So here's the interesting part. So it's 800 volts, which is just a different, more advanced way of charging. However, you need a charger that can handle that. But it means it gets up to 220 kilowatts, allowing the battery to be replenished from 10% to 80% in 18 minutes. We're pretty much there at their level, which I think is about as fast as you really need to go. In 18 minutes, you can have a quick wander, get a cup of coffee, and come back to your car and it's fully done and ready to go. So, and then obviously you've got the 62 miles in 5 minutes, which is good for a bit of a splash and dash. The other interesting thing is I've just read here is the bi-directional functionality, which means, okay, so this is vertical to grid, which means that you could, well, they're talking about whether you could charge another vehicle via a Type 2 cable. The more interesting part of this technology is what you can do in the office or at home. So you could charge really cheaply overnight and then use it as a bit of a power wall. Obviously, that's me making a bit of an assumption here, but, could be cool. Cabin is a bit plasticky. I don't like this handle, and it'd be interesting to see what it's like in person. It's not really the best camera angle to sort of show you. Let's have a look what other... Yeah, it's a nice simple interior. Okay, the other point which I think needs making is the luggage space. The thing that's been putting me off buying a Model 3 is the fact it's not a full hatchback, which, because we have dogs, would mean that if we went anywhere with the dogs, for example to the beach, we'd have to take the i3, which is fine, and we've done it numerous times. However, if you've got the Tesla that can do the supercharging, it makes sense to take that on the longer journeys. So something like this, which has 531 litres of sort of boot or trunk space. That's compared to 425 on the Model 3. That's a sizable extra, and it's a proper hatchback, which means it's a lot more accessible. So that's really good. And then the rest is just the price. Obviously, this is the top of the range first edition kind of model, which is going to be 45. They're hopefully going to get it down into the 30s, which is, good. And obviously, if you're looking at this as your first EV, don't forget that your fuel costs are going to change dramatically, which, depending on your mileage, could save you multiple £100s per month. And if you want to read a quick Q&A with Luke, who's the head of design, head over to the Auto Express article, which I'll link in the description. So there you have it. I think it's a really interesting new car. The fact that they've got the 800 volt technology in such a small car and for under 50 grand is pretty impressive. That's obviously the way that the industry will end up going. But at the moment, Ionity and 800 volt chargers in general are quite rare. So you've got to take that into account. For most EV drivers, we're only really interested in, say, overnight charge at a hotel or at home, and then maybe a 45-minute charge halfway through a road trip. The 800 volts and 15-minute full charges, all that type of stuff, doesn't really make a massive difference, because we would want to have a break, we would want to have a lunch, we'd want to go to a pub, charge on, say, an Osprey charger, which is one of my favourite brands, and 45 minutes later the car's full and we're ready to go. But yeah, I think the 5 is a really good alternative if you don't want a Tesla, or the supercharger network and autopilot are not the game changer, which for some people it will be. So personally, we just love the supercharger network. Having experienced it with our Model S, our next long distance car is more than likely going to be another Tesla. It just gives us that long range ability throughout Europe, and it's brilliant. However, if we were going to change, say, the i3, which is our sort of smaller city car, something like this could be really interesting. I'd be really interested to give it a drive, and looking forward to seeing some on the road, because it looks fantastic. I'm loving this retro vibe that everyone's going after. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps me to get to more people, and it's free of charge, so that's great. And thank you very much for watching. See you in another video. Bye.